Hey, welcome in, everybody. It's the Fantasy Football Hustle NFL Draft Edition. Hope you're all enjoying yourselves, tucked in at your houses, watching the 2020 NFL Draft. And Dwain, McFarland, and I are going to do something special for you tonight. We're going to bring you all of the picks that are fantasy relevant. We're going to get Dwain's in-depth analysis as only you get here on the Fantasy Football Hustle. So follow us on YouTube, subscribe, hit that button right below the screen. We're on Twitch tonight. We're on Facebook. And of course, we are on Twitter at FF Hustle. Our Twitter handles are right below here. So the first pick, Dwain, just went off the board. A surprise to no one. Joe Burrow, the LSU quarterback, goes to the Cincinnati Bengals. The Heisman Trophy winner from the state of Ohio gets to stay at home and play for Zach Taylor and the Bengals. So he had a great college senior year, kind of came out of nowhere. How is he going to translate to the NFL game in Zach Taylor's offense? Because that's what everybody wants to know. He had all these amazing weapons, Justin Jefferson, Edwards-Helaire. You know, he's going to go to a team here in Cincinnati who has Mixon. He's got Green. He's got Boyd. He's got Ross. What do you see from Mr. Burrow here as we head into 2020 as the first pick?
Yeah, man, I think stylistically it's a great fit, for the Bengals. If you look at the offense that was ran last year by LSU, a lot of 11 sets, so a lot of 3 wide. He's going to see a ton of that with Zach Taylor, as the head coach who came over from being under Sean McVay. Taylor was a rookie first-year head coach last year. He's also running the offense. And so I think when you look at what Burrow does, which is, if you think about, looking at his strengths, he attacks the middle of the field well. We had Matt Waldman on the other night. I don't even think we talked about Burrow, but if you look at one of the things, that Matt talks about, he specifically calls out, his ability, to hit the crossing routes, to hit the slants, to hit the choice routes, but still be able to take the vertical shots. He's a guy that doesn't have a super strong arm, but he anticipates well and he's still accurate downfield. If you look at, Matt, he compares him to Matt Ryan. So if you think about this kind of offense, you think about Jared Goff, you think about the way that's ran, for the Rams, I think Burrow, is a great fit, and Matt's not the only guy that's been high on, Burrow. If you look at Pro Football Focus, Mike Renner's comparison is Tony Romo. So when you think about, what I just said, with the anticipation, I think that's something that we saw a lot from Burrow. And so he's a smart quarterback. The other thing that I saw, from the people that, I trust when I look at who, the guys that watch the film over and over and over, he's a guy that really works the pocket well. So if you look at, what Renner said about him, he said basically, he's the best quarterback he's ever seen working the pocket. And Matt Waldman said the exact same thing. So
right.
This is the guy that knows how to stand in the pocket. He knows how to look, he knows what he's looking for. He's very accurate, in specific areas. And I think he's going to be a great fit for the offense. If you just think about fantasy standpoint, he's still going to be a rookie. But I mean, I think at a minimum, and we've talked about this before on the show, Drake, really it's quarterback doesn't come in to be a huge part, until you start talking about the top 12 receivers in fantasy. But if you talk about the top 24, top 36, as long as they're, a quarterback rating of 85 or better, accuracy, 60, 65%, we'd have to adjust that for average depth of target. They're going to be fine. So I don't know if he's going to be a huge upgrade versus last year. I mean, I think it's going to be some because just the fact that the Dolphins only got 13 games out of Andy Dalton last year. You had 4 from Ryan Finley. One of those was where Finley came in to play, for Dalton during the game. But I do think over the long term, this is going to be nice. And he does have some decent weapons with AJ Green, Tyler Boyd. We'll see if John Ross can get going. We'll see what else they do in this draft. Mixon's a nice option out of the backfield. You still have Gio Bernard. So I think there are some weapons. And he's probably a slight upgrade over what we saw last year with this team. I think the bigger thing is if this team can just avoid playing from behind so often and being so predictable, that's going to be big for them.
You know what I like too about Burrow is he's a guy that can create with his legs. And we know in fantasy football nowadays, you need a quarterback who can run and get you some points that way. Sort of like what we saw with Daniel Jones with the Giants. He's a guy that can run around and extend a play, but he can also run and get you some yards and probably a few rushing touchdowns, which will elevate his fantasy points and ceiling going forward. Say we're in a dynasty draft, you need a rookie quarterback, or you need a quarterback in general, Dwain. Is this a guy you'd pull the trigger on in the first round of a dynasty draft, rookie, or it's a rookie draft, so you need a QB? Or you're waiting? You gonna see where Tua goes, or round 2?
It all depends. I mean, it just depends on what you need on your roster. It depends on, is it a 2 quarterback league versus a 1 quarterback? Is it a super flex? A lot of things go into it, but what I'll say is no, certainly I would not be afraid of taking Burrow. I love the fit. Coaches can come and go. So who knows? I mean, we may not have Zach Taylor in 2 years from now, but for now, I mean, I think it looks like a great fit. You've got some weapons around him. Who knows if AJ Green can stay healthy, but we know if he does, he can still be a decent player. I like Tyler Boyd out of the slot. John Ross can be a guy that can help stretch the defense. They could still do more in this draft. So yeah, I have no problem, with Burrow. I definitely want to see where Tua goes because I do like his legs more. So I think that, that's a positive with Tua. But then when you factor in the potential for, an injury, anything with the hip, that could still keep Burrow, ahead. I like both of these guys, but I really like the fit.
Finally, let me ask you, how concerned are you about the fact that they're going to have to do these virtual OTAs? They're not going to be in the building. It's going to be real tough to get him on the field, and how rusty he could be not getting any chemistry with AJ Green and Mixon and all these guys on the Bengals.
Yeah, I think that could really be a huge factor. That's going to affect all quarterbacks. It could affect, the younger guys more, certainly, because they don't have any experience. But I mean, any quarterback that's changed teams, is also going to be facing the same thing. Guys that have been playing longer, you could make an argument that, they're going to be, they can get back into a rhythm more quickly. But I think it's just going to be something where it's kind of be a little bit of a level playing field where everyone in the NFL is going to be dealing with this. You could say that there is, like I said, a slight edge to the veterans, especially if it's with guys they've worked with for a long time. But there's so much turnover in the NFL now, we'd really have to go down and break each roster down and say, okay, which guys are truly seeing a lot of turnover either in the receivers or you've got a new quarterback. So while I do think it will impact rookies, it's just going to be a bigger story across the whole league. But you're going to have defenses that are going to be behind as well. So we'll have to see how it plays out.
There you go. It's the Fantasy Football Hustle. We'll be here all night, folks, giving you quick fantasy snapshots of what's going on in the fantasy world when it comes to players coming off the board in the 2020 NFL Draft. All right, so folks, stick with us here. Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Periscope. Just find us. We'll be here all night. It's going to be fun. We'll talk to you guys in a few minutes.